Hi, I'm John Lewis, and this is André, Pederneiras. Welcome to Tape 2. Today we'll be working on lots of new things for your jiu-jitsu pleasure. Trying to keep it exciting for you like Tape 1 was, working on new techniques and new advanced positions to help your jiu-jitsu training. Igor Zinovia will be here with us again, help us out with some new techniques that he likes to do. Then we'll work on ways to develop our speed and our timing, and other tool sharpening techniques to help your game overall get better. Then we'll take a trip over to Nick One Kick Blumbering School. We'll work on some new techniques in our strategy section, the chess game. So, in the meantime, let's stretch out again to the music video and get ready for the show.
Silly girls, get out of my way, cause I kill that wheel, and I ain't gonna stop till I get my feel. It's been a long time, since I delivered a blow, penetrating my sky. They're not gonna take me down this time, baby, these are the things going through my mind. I'm just here to tell you, baby, everything is gonna be fine. Cool heart, bad attitude. Cool heart, sad. Cool heart, bad attitude. Cool heart.
In this first technique, André throws a fake kick to throw me off. Then he clenches around my back and hooks his leg and takes me down to the mat. Again, André throws a fake kick just to throw me off. As he clenches, he grabs lower on my back, drives with his shoulder, hooks my leg, takes me to the mat. You see that in slow motion. He clenches low around my back, pulls it in tightly to himself, drives with his shoulder, hooks my leg, and takes me down. See how it looks in real time. In defense, as André shoots in, I put my hands on his hips and I push my butt away so he can't get up under me. Take my hands, one at a time, swimming them inside, keeping control, throwing my left arm up in the air, and going behind. See that again. He shoots in. Say he gets inside. So I put my hands on his hips, pushing my butt away so he can't get up under me. My hand comes inside, my other arm comes inside, and I throw my left arm up in the air and go behind. Like so. Check it out here. When he shoots in, it's important that I put my hands on his hips and I move my butt away. If he gets under me, he still will have the technique. But this way he feels like he can't get up under me, so my butt's out. And then I swim both arms inside, making sure my arms are on the inside. One comes in there and the other one does. Okay, when you're in the guard, people automatically think about headbutts. And that's something that you kind of do naturally, but here are some situations that I like that you might want to use. Okay, for one, you might want to come down, put my own face on my own bicep or my own armpit to hide myself from strikes. And I reach under his arms on both sides and I grab above his shoulders, like so. Okay, this kind of takes away any danger you could do to me, although you can hit me on the top of the head. It's nothing that's really going to make that much of a difference. At the same time, I can use my strength here to pull myself in and keep myself close. And every now and then, I'll drop a head at him when I think he's open, but it's simply just lifting up and driving to the top of his face, to his nose. Now, if his head's back like it is in this situation, a lot of times I'll just drive my head straight forward, like this. It's straight up. And you pull down at the same time to give you a little more impact, so he kind of meets me. Boom, into his face. And another one that not a lot of people think about is the solar plex. It's a very vulnerable situation, or vulnerable spot. He's also covering his face, so he's very open there. So I'll just leave my head right where it is, I'll lift it up and I'll just drop it right during the solar plex. Takes your air out a little bit, makes you drop your hand sometimes, so it might open you up for another technique. Try that. We're talking about doing headbutts, let's talk about defending the headbutts now. First of all, a nice situation to do is he controls under my arm and in front of his face, first of all. What this does for my right hand is it keeps it so I can't strike him, can't do any damage to him here, and he's also controlling my head. Okay, he's keeping me deep, keep my arm in a place that I don't want it to be. On the other side, if you notice, he reaches around and he controls this arm very tightly as well. So now I can't strike him with either arm. He's also defending my headbutt, and he's in a good place because he's in a situation he can do some damage. For instance, go to my back. You can do things like arm locks from this situation. Okay, so he's in a place that he's able to attack, whereas I'm in a very defensive situation and I'm trying to get out of this situation. So he's defended, he's neutralized all my headbutts. At the same time, he's neutralized my arms from striking. A lot of people will just hold your head like this because they're thinking of headbutts, or they'll put their hands in front of your face, but it leaves all of your arms open for body shots, people slip head shots up there, or things like that, or you can just back away. This situation is very good because when I'm here, I'm already feeling a little bit in danger. I know my arm's in danger. Once I try to pull my arm out of here, he can go for an arm lock when he feels in a good situation. So I have to be very careful of what I do in that situation. So once again, he reaches under my arm, in front of my face, controls my other arm, neutralizes my arms, neutralizes my head, and he's able to attack. Okay, we're in a half mount right here. André wants to mount. I want to try to defend and eventually get back to my guard. What Andre's gonna do is he's gonna end up pushing my leg out of the way and mounting me, but there's a couple obstacles along the way that he's gonna have to pass. So as he tries to push my knee, he brings his foot to my butt as close as possible to give him the highest bit of leverage. He tries to push my knee, and what I do to defend is I grab his hand and strip it. So he puts his head to the floor under my arm. The reason is so I cannot reach my knee to defend it anymore now. As he pushes on my knee, he clears it, his knee hits the floor, and he would be putting a lot of pressure here against my arm and my head. If I still hold his foot, he'll hook his leg and strip his foot out. And he's mounted. Okay, so he brings his foot close to my butt as possible by grabbing my leg and pulling my leg to make it easier for him. As he pushes on my knee, I try to defend it by moving his hand out of the way. He defends that by putting his head under my arm so that I can't reach him to defend him anymore. He continues on, pushing my knee to the floor, and he climbs through. If I hold his foot in the end, what he'll do is put his other foot, and he'll clear his leg, and he's mounted. Again. So once again, I'm holding his leg. He has a hard time to get his foot to my butt where he wants it, so he brings my knee forward, which makes it easier for him. As he pushes here, I try to move it. So he puts his head to the floor, trapping my arm. He continues on, pushing my leg, clears his knee by helping with his other foot. And he's mounted. Let's try it quicker now. Go, smash. Here's a fun technique. I go up to my knee in the belly position. Holding his head, my knee's driving down. He defends. I reach under his arm, hooking his arm, pivoting around to the other side, lay back into the arm lock. Check it out again. My hand's on his hip. I pop up to my knee on the belly. I'm holding his head, driving my knee inwards. At this point, he defends, so I reach my arm in the hole, pivot around, and there we are in the arm lock. See that in slow motion. See, I'm holding his head. As he puts his hand on my knee, I grab underneath in the hole, grabbing his arm, laying back into the arm lock. In defense of this position, when I pop up to my knee, André takes his right hand, goes underneath and through and hooks my leg. His hand goes on my stomach and he pushes me over. Again. He hooks my leg, his hand's on my stomach. Watch his legs help push me over. I'm popping up to my knee. He reaches in the hole, hooking my leg. His hand goes on my stomach. His legs give him momentum. He pushes me forward with his hand as he comes up. He rocks up, and he's in a side control. André throws some punches to get me to defend. Once I do, he reaches around my neck, grabs his own bicep, leaves the mount, and applies a choke. Once again, he throws some punches just to get me to defend, comes around my neck, his head's pinning my arm in there tightly, see? Grabs his own bicep, leaves the mount, squeezes tightly, and chokes. Slow motion. Throws some punches. I try to defend. Goes around my head, pinning my arm between his head and mine, grabbing his own bicep, so my arm's stuck in there. At this point, watch his foot. Hooks my body, leaves the mount. He's on flat on his stomach, as all his weight's down flat, and he just squeezes tightly and puts his chest into my neck. Now André defends by clenching his hands together. His knee comes in, he hooks my one leg, and he's back on the guard. Once again, I get ready to do the choke. He clenches his hands together, bridges, brings his knee in, hooks my leg, back to guard again. So see, I have the choke here. From this position, André gets a nice bridge to make space as he clenches his hands tightly. When he makes a space, he shoots his knee in, hooks my leg so I can't escape, and straightens his body out, and I'm in his guard. In this position, I control Andre's arm very tightly with my left arm. My right hand pushes his head. I release my right hook from his leg, and my left leg comes across his body. I step over his head, and now I have an arm lock. Once again, I'm hugging his arm tightly, pushing his head, releasing my hook. My leg comes across his body, my leg comes over his head, knees tightly together, and I have the arm lock. Controlling his arm, pushing his head out of the way, making it easier for myself to reach. Leg comes over, knees come together, and the arm lock. Come. A lot of people know this position, which is called the leg over scissors. When the feet are crossed, when you're behind the person, it's not a very good idea because there's a nice ankle lock, which would be this. Okay, I'm lifting my hips up. But what if the guy knows about the technique and he's still trying to work on a choke? There's still a way you can get his foot there. So as he's working on my neck, first thing I always do is defend your neck. What I'll do is I'll take one leg and I'll lift it and use my other hand to help cross this leg over on my own. The opposite foot that's on the top of mine steps over his. I'll hook it and I'll lift my hips. Once again, what I'm doing is I'm making him cross his foot when he doesn't want to. I'm keeping his leg here. I'm lifting my other leg, pushing it across. Then I step over, the top foot, cross it, and extend my hips. Again, real time. Go. Real? So what's happening here? Feet are crossing over, my leg's crossing over his, and the pain is against the foot, against the ankle, and it'll snap the ankle. Definitely freeze your neck, but the most important thing is that it'll crack the ankle. Okay, let's work on some tool sharpening again. What we're going to work on today is a technique that helps you develop your speed, as well as not telegraphing, and also it helps the individual you're throwing the punch at to learn to watch for telegraphing. Okay, the drill looks like this. Your partner puts up a focus pad or something in his hand, same distance as his face from you, so that you could be hitting towards his face at the same time you get the pad, okay? What he needs to do with his other hand is put it by his chest, close, because I have the advantage because I'm going first. So by putting his hand close to his chest, he still kind of equals the advantage. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to try to hit the focus pad before he can hit his chest. If I can hit the pad first, then that means that I would have hit him before he could have developed, before he could have parried it or blocked it. If he can hit his chest first, it means I telegraphed a little too much and he was able to defend it. Okay, so let's try it. Just like that. Let's try it. technique for tool sharpening is used to help you learn to go to the guy's back as quick as possible. So what I'm going to do is have André go on his hands and his knees, and I'm going to put my chest on his back. He's just going to stay there for me, okay? And I'm going to spin on his back. All my weight should be on his chest, okay? I'm going to spin from one side to the other side, okay? I'm going to go 1, 2, and in a third, I'm going to put my hooks in. Okay, again. Weights here. Slow it goes. Around. Around. And hooks. One more time fast. Okay, let's try it. This is a kicking drill we use in conjunction with other conditioning drills. Basically, the concept is to kick it for 1 to 2 minutes as fast as possible without stopping.
Pull down now, John. Get down. Get down, John. Kick him out. Go for the back leg. Go for the back leg. Kick him out. Kick him out. Kick him out. The damage is now. Move to the center. Get the leg out of his face. Get the leg out of his face. Get the leg out of his face.
In this technique, Andre's right hand is on my lapel, his left is on his elbow. He steps in 3 times, and the 3rd time he throws me. His right leg catches my right, and he throws me. Again, his right hand's on my lapel, his left hand is on my elbow. He steps in. As he lifts my arm and my lapel, he brings me inwards, breaking my balance. Stepping in, hit me with his body. At this point, his leg catches mine, and he throws me. Again. Notice his leg stepping in. Notice his footwork. Right foot crosses, his left foot comes from behind. Then he pivots, catches my leg with his leg, and throws me. Watch how Andre defends the technique he just taught. As I go to throw him, his hand comes between my leg, picks me up and drops me. Again, I step in, his left hand comes between my leg from behind, picks me up, puts me down. See it in slow motion. As I step in, he drops his weight, his hand comes between my legs, picking me up and slamming me down on my back. There we have it. In this great position, my leg hooks around Andre's leg like so. My right foot is on his hip, and I don't put my foot between his leg. On the outside of his leg, I place my foot. I pass his arm to my arm. I grab his belt with my right hand, and my head spins through his legs, pulling him off balance, and all the way I follow through to the side control. Look at how I control his arm again. I pass it through. I grab either his sleeve or his wrist. Either is okay. Just control his arm. Then my right arm comes around the back, like so. I reach all the way around, I grab his belt. Okay. At this point, when I go under his legs, he's going to start losing his balance. So I start bringing my head under his legs, like this. And as I go there, pull him with my right arm. He falls. I follow him up, kicking my leg over. I'm in a side control. At this point, I can reach under his arm, grab his belt, something like that. Slow motion. My leg hooks, my right foot is on his hip. At this point, I drop my right foot. As I do this, I don't put it inside the hole, I put it on the outside of both legs. Then I pass his arm through the hole to mine. My right arm comes around, grabbing his pants or grabbing his belt, spinning my head through the hole, pulling him off balance with my right arm, following all the way through to the side control. There we go. There are a few different defensive choices for the previous technique. The one Andre's going to do now is pretty neat. As I go for my technique, Andre steps over my head and ends up in my half guard. So basically, he's kind of meeting me halfway. Okay, what he's going to do again, as I go for my technique, my foot's hooked. I sit up, pass his arm, and as I go underneath, he meets me halfway, stepping over my head. And now he's in half guard, and I'm in a bad situation. Passing my arm through the hole, reaching behind, getting ready to spin through the hole. As I go in, he stepped over my head, and he's got me in a situation here. This is the defense from the spider guard position. I'm holding Andre's sleeves like so, and my feet are on his biceps, creating pressure. Andre grabs my pants on both legs, right at the bottom, and he brings them both together and puts my feet all the way to the floor and his weight on them, like this. At this point, he comes around with the knee on the belly, bringing my legs with him. Once again, I'm controlling his sleeves, my feet are in his biceps, he grabs my pants, steps back, pushes my feet to the floor, and his weight on my feet comes into the knee and the belly. Stepping back, he leans downwards on my feet on the floor so I can't move my legs. Then he passes, puts his knee on the belly, and brings my pants with him. There we go. As André steps back, I follow him up, sitting upwards, releasing my grips, and I grab his knee. I then sit back again and yank him forward into my butterfly guard. At this point, I take him down by grabbing his ankles and pushing forward with my knees, and I mount. Again, as he steps back, I release my grips, grab his knees, pull him back into my butterfly guard, grab his ankles, push with my shins, pull with my hands, and I mount, crossing my feet. Once again, he grabs my pants. He steps back, pushing my feet to the floor, but I follow him up, grabbing his pants right away at the knees. Getting some nice grips here. I pull him back into what I call a butterfly guard, grabbing his ankles, pushing with the shins, and mounting. In this technique, I switch my arms first, controlling Andre's belt. Then I sit out, like so. I need to block his leg as I move my hip backwards, moving his arm. Then I step over for the mount, like so. This technique works real well because he can't see what I'm doing because my back is blocking his face. Once again, changing my grip, grabbing his belt, sitting out, move my hip away, blocking his leg, stepping over very quickly, and straightening out to the mount. Let's try this in slow motion. So I'm in my side control. Anyone that you choose. At this point, I'm going to have to switch my arms like this. Taking my right arm, putting it on the other side of his body, controlling his belt like this. Then I sit out, move my hip away, blocking his leg, stepping over briefly, and I mount. In defense, Andre's arm is on the inside of my neck. His elbow is blocking my hips. He bridges, brings his knee inside, straightens his body out, and I'm on a guard. Again, his hand's in front of my throat. His elbow's inside, makes space, puts me back on the guard. Anytime I'm in a side control like this, he puts his hand in front of my throat, because it's hard for me to fight against it because it's hurting my throat to fight against it. His elbow stays down tight to his body. Okay, as he bridges, he pushes away, makes a slight hole, gets one knee inside. As he gets the knee in, he straightens his body out, hooks my leg this time, straightens his hip out, and he's in the guard. Ezekiel choke. The forefingers are inside of the sleeve, the hand comes in front of the throat, and you choke. See, as I do it, I push away and choke, like so. My forefingers go inside of the sleeve, my hand comes in front of the throat, and I just straighten my arms out, pushing away, and chokes. Okay, once again, André reaches underneath my head, grabs his forefingers inside of his own sleeve, hand comes in front of the throat, chokes, closing the gap. I break Andre's grip with his feet. I straighten my leg out, turn sideways to one side, stepping over, bringing his foot over my leg with my foot. I'm trapping his foot in there this time. This time I replace my left leg with my right, and my left hand's going to push on his right leg, make space, escape my knee, and he's in my guard. Again. My feet are going to break his grip. I push like this, opening the feet. I straighten one leg, put it flat on the floor, turn slightly to the side, hooking his leg, and bringing it through and over mine, and trapping it. At this point, my right foot replaces my left. My left hand pushes on his knee so I can escape my left leg, and he's in my guard. Once again, I break the grip of his feet by pushing him apart with mine. I straighten my leg out, turn slightly to the side, makes it easier to reach over and grab his foot. My foot hooks his, brings it over my leg, and I trap it tightly so he can't escape and mount again. My right hand helps me replace my left with my right leg. At this point, my left hand is going to come on his leg and push his leg, making space, and he's in my guard. Here's a great way to get to the back. The guy turns his body sideways, so I get my side mount. My foot's trapping his stomach area, my knee's trapping him from rolling backwards. He's nice and snug in here. At this point, I grab his wrist with my left arm, and I control his arm there, like so. What I'm going to do this time is I'm going to rock my body and lay back on my back and bring him on top of me to get my second hook in. And there we go. Let's see that again. He turns sideways. So I go with him. I let him go. I trap him from going any further with my front leg, and my knee blocks his back. Pass his wrist to my left arm, controlling him tightly, staying close, lay back, and bring him on top of me, putting my second hook in, and I got the back. One more time, slow motion. He's going to turn to his side, and I'm going to let him go. I'm going to give him the space. Bringing my foot up. At this point, I stop him from going any further by trapping it with my front leg, my right leg. My left leg traps him on his back. I roll back to my back, put my second hook in, and I got the back. From here, you can go for a choke or something else. You should feel very comfortable in this side mount position like so. André moves his head so it's facing towards the floor, rolls to one side, traps one leg, and he's on top. Let's break that down. André controls my arm, changes his head to the left side, lays towards the floor, escapes one leg. See him trap my leg this time with his right leg, pulling his arm through, trying to keep me from mounting. Takes the top position. In slow motion. Controls my arm tightly, changes his head to my left side or the side closest to the floor. His left hand grabs my pants, moving my foot off of his leg, freeing his leg, stepping over. At this point, he's going to pivot his body, moving his butt, take the top position. And there we go, half guard. Okay, today's tool sharpening exercise is going to help you defend the sweep once again. Today we're going to be defending the sweep with no hands whatsoever. We're going to let André take my arms and control them however he wants to do it, and I'm going to use my head and my legs to keep myself balanced. I'll get to one side, I'll control it as far as long as I can, and then we'll come back to the center and we'll try again the other side and try to build that technique. I'm not rounding my body too much. If I round my body too much, he'll still turn me over. What I mean by that is this, hunching my back. If he goes to this side again, and I bend my body too much, I'll still get sweet. So what I do is I kind of straighten my back, try to get my forehead on the ground instead of the top of my head. Like this. My head up. Okay, this makes it hard. I put my hips in, my weight, if I can. You can even pass from here. Try it. Okay, today's tool sharpening exercise. He's going to use a technique to demonstrate this exercise, but the point I want to make is how he's using Tony's momentum against him. Okay, Steve's going to help us out with this, as well as Tony. What he's going to do is he's going to pull Tony forward first. Okay, Tony's going to want to get out of there. Okay? He doesn't like being down like that, so Tony's going to slowly push away. Steve's going to use his momentum as he pushes away and follow him up. Okay, from here he's going to throw his hip into it and turn him over. Like I say, this technique and this concept can be used with a lot of different techniques. We're using this technique to demonstrate it today, once again. Okay, so he's going to pull Tony forward. Tony wants to back away, so Tony backs away, and Steve goes with his momentum and turns him over. So Steve knew from the very beginning what technique he wanted. He just tried to set Tony up for it. Okay, just try it real time, guys, like fast speed. At your own convenience. Beautiful. One more time, please. Great. So I'll try it together. Once again, Igor Zinoviev is here to help us out with a special technique.
Same two grips, pull it up. Same time, my legs go between the legs. Open it, my arms go behind, just pull it. Those legs go between two. Put my legs, pull, and put my legs between the legs. Put my head under, reach. Again, John. Sorry.
That's okay. This may not be as much a strategy as I consider some wise advice, if I could say. When you're talking about striking in a fighting situation, you always want to strike from the most powerful position as possible. Okay, so the key to all this ground fighting and all this stuff is superior position. Okay, a lot of times if you're sitting in a certain position and you try to hit somebody and they're in a better position to strike from, you're just going to remind them to hit you back. But say you're in a position that's not very powerful, or you can't really hurt them from in that position, but they are. So you got to think about that. Some people think just getting little points off hitting them in the face, is doing something, but really, those rabbit punches that don't knock anybody out anyways either infuriate the person or make them go more wildly on you, which is going to give you a harder time, or they just, or the other guy punches you back or does something back to you, or the same technique back to you, but from a position that matters. Okay, so watch this. If I'm in this position, I would rather have this guy holding on to me and trying to keep position and maintain power than trying to punch me in the face. So if I'm sitting here with this guy and he's holding on top of me like this, and I want to push him away and start punching at him, it's kind of silly for me to do so. I'm not going to knock him out from this position. I'm not going to get him off me from this position by punching him in the face. Maybe I'll piss him off a little, or maybe I'll hurt his, give him a little strawberry or something. But overall, this guy's going to be dropping some bombs on me. Okay? So you got to think of these kind of things. I'd rather have this guy holding on to me so I have time to try to escape than the way I would be, trying to punch with him. Another situation is maybe you're in this position here and you see his face, you try to throw a headbutt at him. Yeah, maybe you could cut him. But the point is, this guy has some very serious headbutts or elbows from this position. A lot of times, if you throw a technique at somebody, they throw the same technique back at you. If you ever box with somebody or something like this, a lot of times you'll throw a jab and they'll throw a jab back, or they'll answer you back with the same technique. This is kind of how it happens sometimes. So you got to think about that, okay? In the guard. Okay, from this position here, I can throw some punches that matter a lot, but he can throw a lot of them as well, okay? So you want to think about this. Before you exchange with somebody from this position, you want to make sure that's what you really want to do, okay? Unless I have a strategy for it. For instance, the guy's holding me very close, like so, okay? I want to make space. So I know that if I punch at him, he's going to probably start punching back at me because he's going to get tired of it, and he's going to realize he can. So I'll start punching on him, whacking on him. If he backs away from me, then I'll be able to make my space that I want to do. Maybe hit or maybe stand back up, okay? But in that case, I have a strategy. I don't really want him to punch me back, but I want him to do it just so that I can get away, because in this situation, I'm stuck tight. So my final word on this is, whenever you're going to punch somebody, make sure you're in the superior position, and they're not. Okay? Because if you try to throw techniques at somebody and remind them to throw them back at you, and they're in a better position, it could end the fight in the wrong way.
Os atletas que já perderam sua luta, pedimos a gentileza que se retirem da área de luta. Por favor, esse rapaz aí de camiseta vermelha, por favor, queira se retirar da área de luta.
Próxima luta do ringue, Marcelo Baixo, Caçantino, seu adversário Sérgio Sábio, Turicão. Próxima luta do ringue, última chamada para os atletas da categoria meio pesado, ringue número 3, da categoria pesado, ringue número 2.
Before I go out, first of all, before I hit the ring, I'm just at the point of serious focus. I'm sitting there thinking about nothing but the fight. Everybody with me and my entourage in my corner is just trying to make sure that everything's taken care of for me so I can just focus on the fight alone. When I start coming out, I start trying to psych myself up. I'm not getting mad, really. I'm just telling myself, okay, now you're going to fight. You're really going to fight right now. So since you're going to fight, do what you got to do. You know, don't play around when you get in there. Then I'll step into the ring. You know, I'll continue that same kind of emotion until I see the other guy in the corner across from me, at which time a couple things happen. One thing is I try to get very focused on the person. I don't see anything else but the blinders of the person in front of me, and I just start psyching myself up for that. The more he psychs himself up, the more it psychs me up as well. At the same time, I'm trying to see what kind of fighter I think he's going to be. You know, like somewhere in these tapes you're going to see us talking about this in a tool sharpening segments. I'm trying to see if this guy is going to be, you know, how aggressive he is going to be. If he looks like he's patient to me, the guy's kind of relaxing a little bit, you know, I'll know he's probably going to come on slower. The hardest part of a fight for me, I don't know for anybody else, but for me is the first 15 seconds of the fight before the guy comes at you, because no matter how much you trained, how much strategies you worked on, you don't really know exactly what he's going to do on his first initial, you know, thing. You can only go by the last tape you've seen of him, which can change, because I know every fight I've ever fought in has always been totally different. So if somebody watched one of my tapes, they can't tell how I'm going to be when they fight me. I try to do that on purpose, actually. So when I'm looking at this guy, I'm trying to look at how I see him then at that moment, and how I see his energy, and to get what I think he's going to do. Is he going to run at me? Is he going to come on slow? You know, and those are the kind of things I'm thinking about, just trying to get myself ready for that moment. Once the clinch is on, the fight is not as scary anymore. At that point, you're just doing your job. Before that, it's that part of, okay, how are we going to get there? Am I going to take him down? Is he going to take me down? That's the part that I really try to focus on.
I have 400 students in Brazil. I have 5 schools in Brazil, 2 schools in the here, and 1 school in Brasília, 1 school in Fortaleza, 1 school in Manaus.
For one, I think to a certain point, weight training can inhibit your flexibility, but it depends on how serious of a weight trainer you are. If you're trying to become a bodybuilder and get incredibly big, then yeah, at some point it's going to start slowing down your range of motion. When you're lifting weights a little bit, just keeping yourself toned or just to build your muscular endurance is another thing. At the same time, if you're always training consistently with your weight training, meaning training as in jiu-jitsu or doing your positions, stretching out all the time along with it, usually you can keep your flexibility as well as be big. There's a lot of guys who are nice-sized guys who still are pretty flexible. Where you'll lose your flexibility is just the weight training without keeping up your stretching and your other things, and you will tighten up little by little. Personally, I'm not the one that does weights a lot. You know, I don't do weights really. Every now and then for my fights, I might do some things. But overall, I'm not a big gym buff. I kind of get bored by doing weights. I like to do things like swim or or more natural ways to build my muscle, more because I get bored in the gym, things like that. But I think you can get the same thing out of training very good in natural type situations as well, with your own body weight and other people's body weight rather than just the weights. But I definitely don't think that people should throw away weight training by any means. That's just my personal preference. Our motivation for making these tapes was basically to show America and show the world the beauty of jiu-jitsu. Not just a couple basic techniques, the mount, the guard, like a lot of the tapes show, but to show you the details in jiu-jitsu. There's so much to jiu-jitsu more than people know, you know. People see the fights on TV, the Vale Tudo fights, and guys just mount and punch, and there's so much more details to jiu-jitsu. So we wanted to show the real foundation of jiu-jitsu, what there really is to offer in jiu-jitsu.
Will your ego take control? Now that things are going cool. And will you say what you've become?